Hi everyone, this is my Women's History presentation for my Girl Scout Gold Award. Today I'm going to be talking about women's suffrage, women in World War I and World War II, the #MeToo movement, the wage gap, and women in history that I personally look up to. I'm going to start with the women's suffrage movement, and this is kind of going to be an outline of the events that happened during the movement. This all started when Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Lucretia Mott were not allowed into the World Anti-Slavery Convention that was held in London. This made them hold their own convention, which was considered the first women's rights convention in Seneca Falls, New York in 1848. And then later in 1849, California is the first state to extend property rights to women, which was kind of the beginning of this fight for rights for women. Massachusetts is the site for the first and second site of national women's rights conventions, which happened in 1850 and 1851. Some of the attendees to the first one were Frederick Douglass, Paulina Wright Davis, Abby Kelly Foster, William Lloyd Garrison, Lucy Stone, and Sojourner Truth. This movement forms a strong alliance with the abolitionist movement because they had similar interests in mind and were both being kind of ignored by prominent white men and the government. And this is where Sojourner Truth delivers her speech, Ain't I a Woman? Unfortunately, during the years 1861 to 1865, the suffrage movement has to go on pause in order for the Civil War to take place because these women put their attention towards the war effort to help out in jobs and around the house, and some of them even in the army, as I'll talk about later in this presentation. The American Equal Rights Association is formed in 1866 by Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony. And these were two women very prominent in this movement. They are very important to this movement, and they are kind of the faces of this movement as well. This organization was for suffrage regardless of all genders or race. And then the 14th Amendment was ratified in 1868 that defined citizens and voters as exclusively male. And this was an act to shut down the movement and kind of draw attention away from it and exclude it from large political discussions. Then in 1869, the American Equal Rights Association is wrecked by disagreements over the 14th Amendment and the question whether to support the proposed 15th Amendment, which would enfranchise Black American males while avoiding the question of women's suffrage entirely. Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony founded the National Women's Suffrage Association, the NWSA, in also 1969, and Lucy Stone, Henry Blackwell, Julia Ward Howe, and other more conservative activists formed the American Women's Suffrage Association, the AWSA, in 1869 as well, to kind of go against the other people, and because they had different goals, and the more conservative people didn't want as many rights for women, but they still wanted some. Then in 1871, the Anti-Suffrage Party is founded, which was a political party for government, which obviously was to shut down the women's suffrage movement. And women included Susan B. Anthony were arrested for casting ballots in 1872, which was a form of protest really to draw attention. In 1872 as well, Abigail Scott Dunaway helps pass legislation in Oregon to help women's rights pertaining to property and money, etc. Because women at this time didn't really have anything to their name. It was all in the name of their husbands or their father at the time.